Though most users can install and use a variety of different font formats, there are differences between PostScript, Fawn, TrueType, and OpenType. Let's talk first about PostScript. Well, PostScript, or the Type 1 font format, was developed by Adobe in the 1980s, several years before the release of TrueType. The format is based on Adobe's PostScript printing technology, a programming language that allows for high-resolution output of resizable graphics. PostScript has long been viewed as a reliable choice, particularly for professional designers, publishers, and printers. Now, PostScript fonts consist of two parts, which are both necessary for the font to be properly printed and displayed on the screen. With most operating systems, PostScript can be installed simply by being placed in the system's font folder. Now, with the Fawn font format, which is short for font, it is an older font format used by Microsoft pre-Windows 95. Each font can utilize either raster glyphs or line art glyphs, but not both. Because Fawn format fonts have been obsolete since the early 90s, few modern graphic or word processor programs support them. Microsoft Paint still supports the raster-based Fawn format, but not the line art Fawn format. The raster format stores each glyph in a pixel bitmap. Now, if I'm using quite a few words that you do not understand currently, you will get to know these terms such as glyphs, bitmap, raster, vector, and so on and so forth. Well, as the semester goes by, you will learn a lot of these terms. Another font format is TrueType. The TrueType format was created by Apple Computer in the late 1980s. Unlike the earlier raster formats like Fawn, TrueType uses vectors to store each glyph. So this allows the font to be displayed or printed at any size and still look just like it's supposed to. The TrueType format, or TTF for short, also incorporates hinting. Hinting allows the font to look good even when drawn at the pixel level, such as on a monitor. Nearly every graphic and word processor program since the early 1990s supports TrueType format. Another format, OpenType, is a new standard for digital type fonts, developed jointly by Adobe and Microsoft. The OpenType format was created by Microsoft when Apple refused to license their ATT format in the early 1990s. So in 1994, Microsoft had begun work, and by 1996, Adobe joined in and began converting their entire font library into OTF, short for OpenType format. Most professional fonts being created now are in OTF. OTF is primarily based on TTF, but it has several additions that make it superior. For instance, like proper Unicode support. Unicode is another term that you're going to learn in second semester. There are other additions, such as more glyphs per font file, cross-platform support, and a more efficient data storage, among others. Most graphic and word processor programs made after 1999 support OTF. Before you begin installing fonts, once you've downloaded the font package, which in our case is the typeface regulators, you are going to want to open up any related text documents that are associated with the particular package. So what I mean is that once you open up the unzipped folder with the various fonts in it, you're going to want to click on this .txt document. Here they've titled it Reg for regulators. Go ahead and open this document by double-clicking on it. So notice what you have here. There's a date, 2003. These fonts were developed by Daniel Zadaranzi and are from Iconian.com. This font comes with the following 5 versions: regular, italic, outline, condensed, and extended. This font family may be freely distributed and is free for all non-commercial uses. This font is emailware. That is, if you like it, please email the author at iconian@aol.com. Okay, so let's exit out of this document and take a look at the regular, italic, outline, condensed, and extended fonts that go along with this typeface. Well, first off, knowing about the font format, you can pretty much assume that this file here is pretty much outdated for the computer that you're currently working on. However, if you notice that within the same folder that this font format is currently inside, you notice you also have some TrueType fonts here. You know they're TrueType when the files end in .ttf, TT for TrueType. So here you notice you have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 fonts, the 5 fonts that the text document was alluding to. So what you want to do is actually use these TrueType fonts. We're going to select the TrueType fonts together and place them into our fonts folder. So to do that, what you're going to want to do is open up your control panel. Because I'm on a Windows 7 machine, my control panel is easily accessible by going to the Windows Start menu and then choosing Control Panel. Now my control panel may appear different than yours. What you want to do is access your fonts folder from the control panel. My fonts folder happens to be located within the Appearance and Personalization directory. So if you haven't yet found your font folder, it most likely will be under this directory. For those of us who have this view of Control Panel, go ahead and click that now. Then notice you have your fonts folder. Click on that to open up your fonts folder, and notice you have all of your fonts listed. Now it depends what kind of operating system and what version you're working with as far as the appearance of your fonts folder is concerned, but just note that the fonts folder is the folder that contains all of your fonts and all of your typefaces. Okay, so now with the fonts folder open, you're going to want to move it off to the side a little bit. So I'm going to move it up here and then maybe resize it to make it smaller. And I also have the Regulators file folder open that contains the fonts that I'd like to place into my fonts folder. What you want to do is select the bottommost TTF or TrueType font file by just standard left clicking once, and then hold the Control key and click each of the TrueType files. You want to be careful and just click once. So now I have all 5 TrueType files selected. Now press Ctrl-C on your keyboard, which is a keyboard shortcut to copy. Okay, so now that they have been copied, these files, to your computer's short-term memory, what you're going to want to do is, again, access the fonts folder. Mine happens to be right here, and then right-click in a blank area within your fonts folder and choose Paste. Now at this point, it's installing the fonts. Sometimes fonts can take a while to install. But keep in mind that if you're working in a computer lab and you have limited access to certain files and directories, you may have not been able to follow along to that part of the tutorial. If that be the case, please drop me an email or contact me in some way and let me know that you are unable to install the fonts. I may be able to help. Okay, now the fonts have been installed into the computer. And if you're working with Adobe CS3, 4, or 5, which, well, you should be, then you know that when you open up any one of the Adobe programs, you now have access to the new fonts you've just downloaded and installed in your computer. So let's go ahead and open up Adobe Photoshop and see if our Regulators font has been installed. Okay, so here I am in Adobe Photoshop. Let me go to File and choose New. And then where it says Preset, let's choose a preset of Web. So from this drop-down menu, choose Web. With that selected, then go to OK. Okay, so here is your new blank document. Now let's get out the Type tool, which is located right here. With the Type tool selected, go up to the menu bar above and click on this little down arrow. This little down arrow gives you a list of all the different typefaces that you have currently installed in your computer. Notice I have quite a few. Okay, so I'm going to have you select whatever the typeface is listed here. Yours probably doesn't list this one here. And then begin typing in REG for regulators. There's no need to finish typing the entire word regulators. As you notice here, the program Photoshop finishes the rest of the word for you. And now if you select the down arrow, you notice that you have a couple of different fonts from the font listed with the regulator font type. You have Regulators, Regulators Condensed, Regulators Expanded, Regulators Italic, and Regulators Shadow. Pretty cool, huh? So all you need to do is select the font that you would like to work with from that menu and then select a color. Here I have white, so I must select a different color here. Let's see, maybe purple. And go to OK. And I could just simply click once and start typing. That is how you download and install fonts for use with the Adobe software. I hope you've had fun. I hope you've learned a lot, and I will see you in class.